Bonjour, hi everyone. My name is Miroslav Šedivý. I arrived to Paris by train from the other side of the Rhine River, and this is how my keyboard looks like. Am I the only one in this room who is using the standard US keyboard layout? Close it down. Yeah. Okay, great. So this is perfect because with this keyboard layout you can program very well. You can type in quite many languages. English, Welsh, for example, if you want to type the name of this place in Wales, and you have actually no more than 2 keys, and this is the whole no more than 2 characters per key, and this is the whole standard ASCII on your keyboard. It's perfect to type in VI. So the world would be beautiful if you only had to type in English and in a few languages. Pretože ako náhle chcete napríklad napísať moje priezvisko, ktoré je Šedivý a obsahuje mekčeň a dlžeň, tak potrebujete slovenskú klávesnicu. Slovenská klávesnica nie je QWERTY, ale kverc. Hore tie čísla sú trocha iné, treba robiť so shiftom. Napravo je to zasa trocha iné. Z a Y sú vymenené, takže je to troška naopak. Takže ak chcete písať po slovensky, tak potrebujete slovenskú klávesnicu. Sobald man aber jetzt anfängt auf Deutsch zu schreiben, zum Beispiel die Umlaute A, O, U, scharfes S, diejenigen, die mich jetzt gerade verstehen, wer weiß, wie man das große scharfe S tippt auf der deutschen Tastatur? Das geht natürlich nicht, weil sobald ihr scharfes S mit Shift macht, kriegt ihr ein Fragezeichen. Wieder, es ist ein Kverc, aber es ist wieder ein bisschen anders. Česká klávesnica je podobná slovenskej klávesnici, sú tam nejaká iná nabodeníčka, zase pribudlo nejaké znaky, no ale na programovaní to není to práve to, co by sa dalo používať. Je suis peut-être pas ici pour vous demander qui a déjà utilisé le clavier AZERTY, parce qu'apparemment c'est pratiquement tout le monde. C'est pas QWERTY, ni QWERTY, c'est AZERTY. Alors ça c'est le M, il est ailleurs, le point on le fait avec un shift. Plein d'accents sont ailleurs et si vous maintenant imaginez de venir retenir comment le clavier fonctionne, ça ajoute déjà plein d'autres touches. Et c'est un peu, et pour programmer, c'est pas vraiment gagné. En plus, j'ai commencé à utiliser VI sur le clavier français et je ne pouvais pas imaginer comment quelqu'un pouvait écrire ou développer un éditeur de texte qui fonctionne sur ça. Teclado castellano, per la ñ o puntos de interrogación, signos de interrogación abiertos, necesitáis un otro teclado que ya es un poco más complicado para retener cómo funciona. Klawiatura polska jest oczywiście klawiatura polska jest jak amerykańska. Jak chcecie pisać do kogoś, kto się nazywa Grzegorz Brzęczyszkiewicz i mieszka w Szączyce, powiat Wękowody, są tam jakieś kreski, ogonki i kropki, jest potrzeba zasa innej klawiatury, a to nie jest bardzo ładne do zapamiętowania. Tastiera italiana, molto similare, ma è più difficile di scrivere le lettere maiuscole accentuate. Po svenska använder ma a med ring, a magyar ABC-ben kettős és ékezé található, és Esperanto. Kvankam Esperanto estas internacia lingvo, ankaŭ li ekzistas kelkaj tre specialaj literoj, v türkŝedej bujugnak tali I, v küçüknak tas is ivar. And we have only scratched the surface. So now imagine you are typing in a few European languages every day, and you have to remember this if you want to switch between keyboard layouts. And if you want even to type even more, then it will become even more complicated. Now imagine all you see here are simple characters or simple keys with shift. And there are even some keyboard layouts where you have to push to press the right alt to get some characters, which I even didn't show here. So how can we type in a few European languages based on the Latin alphabet on a single keyboard layout? Switching between keyboards, no. Using character maps, of course, if you search for specific character is okay, but if you are typing fluently in another language, it is not really an option to search for a special character each time. But fortunately, there is a compose key. If you remember, in the 70s, 80s, there are a few keyboard layouts with a special compose character. How does such a compose character work? You can type sequentially. You don't have to play piano and hold 3 or 4 keys at the same time. Just press compose and then 2 other characters that in the combination give you a character that you would like to have. So if you can read this, there is compose and then another character and then the third character, and you get what you need. So for example, let's take some random language, French. In French, you have accent aigu. So accent aigu is very similar to simple quote. So you type compose, simple quote, E, and you get E with accent aigu. If you need accent grave, it is backtick. If you need accent circonflexe, it is caret. If you need tréma, it's 2 dots, so it's a quote, a double quote. And this varies also in German because it is not like a different letter. The symbol of the double quote works like umlaut, like German umlaut or the French tréma, and you can compose it. If you need CD, it's with comma. If you want to type my last name with sh, the C, it is the Karen on the S. And then you have plenty of other combinations that are already in your system. You don't have to program anything. This is already in your system. And there is a file in your system that contains over 6,000 lines with all these combinations. So you just have a look at it, and then you can, if you need to type in French, you just remember 3, 4, 5 combinations. On the US keyboard layout, you can even get the guillemets, like the quotation marks in French, and most other characters that you need. So you just check this file, and if you think that this file doesn't contain everything you need, you can write even your own Xcompose file, where you type it in the same format, and if you have some emojis, some special characters that are not contained in this big file, you can define them themselves. Okay, so now we know that there is compose key, we know how it works, but very probably you don't have such a compose key on your keyboard. But there are probably a few keys that you don't use every day or that you don't use at all. For example, the right window key or the menu key, or on modern ThinkPads you have a print screen key at the bottom row that you don't need every day, so you can remap it as a compose key. There is another file that gives you a list of all possibilities for the compose key, so like the left window, right window, menu, control, caps lock, print screen, scroll lock, anything. What you do, you set XKBMap with US. If you have US keyboard layout, you can still use your French keyboard layout and type FR here, minus option, compose, and menu, or the other key that you want to remap. And then you're done. You have a beautiful compose key on your keyboard, and you can type in most languages that are defined in your with your compose key. So this was a good start. But when I'm standing already here, we can hack your keyboard even further. Which key are we going to touch now? Caps lock? Yes. Nobody needs caps lock. What can we do with caps lock? Control is quite far away, so let's do control out of it. So there in the same file, you have caps control modifier, and you can say your caps lock now works as a control key because it's just next to your A. No, sorry, what do you have next to caps lock? Q. You have Q. Okay, so it's next to your Q. On normal keyboards, it's next to A, and you can touch it very quickly with your pinky key, and that's control. Okay. Okay, that's done. We just add this to the set XKBMap, and it works. But is it enough? Maybe we can do something more. We can map 2 keys on your caps lock. Because what is the difference between control and escape? You can map control and escape at the same time. What is the difference? Control is usually a key that you press and hold, and you press something else. Escape is something that you just press and release. And it's possible in your system to define, okay, just follow my caps lock. If I press it and press something else, it works like a control. If I press and release it immediately, it will be escape. There is a program, a small program for that, escape, that allows you to use a modifier key as another key. I'm guessing, if you don't understand why anybody would want this, I'm guessing that VI is not your favorite text editor. So you just start it, and then we are ready to rock, because this is your keyboard with 2 keys that you usually don't use that are remapped to very useful control escape and to compose. And we are now ready to start using VI. Anyone using VI actually? Most of you, very nice. So now let's have a look at the history of VI or Vim. Probably what is on your system, it's Vim. It is here. It started 1991. It's still there. It started on an Amiga computer, and it's based on Stevie, Elvis editors. Now, later, about 2014, there is a version of NeoVim. It's more community-driven. It tries to be identical to VI, to Vim. It has some few more functions that we are going to check later, and it's more community-driven than Vim. But what is interesting is the other direction, the history. VI, probably most of you have heard of that, but we are going back to almost 50 years ago to add. Anyone using add? Anyone seen add? Oh, you are missing a lot. Because imagine now the 60s, 70s, and imagine you don't have a computer with your modern text editor there, but you have to program your computer somehow. How did those computers in the history look like? Do you know these two guys? Dennis Ritchie, Ken Thompson, the authors of Unix. Without these two guys, no Unix, no BSD, no Linux, no Mac OS, no Android, just Windows everywhere. So now this is a picture of 1970. These are the two authors of Unix. And now you see the computer, the big computer in the back. It is PDP-11. And this is ASR33 are the two terminals here. What do you see on these terminals? You see a keyboard, and you see a printer. No screen. So now imagine how you edit text on it. Everything you type will just be printed on the screen, and it's a very long roll of paper. So every time there is a new line, it just scrolls and prints what you type, what the computer answers. Actually, this is the terminal, how it worked 50 years ago. So now imagine that these authors of Unix, they had to program it somehow. There was no modern text editor, they had to type it on this computer. If you don't want to type the whole source code of the Unix at once, you could do it, but it's probably not what even these two guys were able to do. You have to have a text editor. But a text editor on such a device means that you have to communicate somehow and to have the possibility to edit the files. But once you print something on the printer, you cannot edit it, you cannot scroll back. You just have to find a way how to communicate with the computer, editing, working with text. And this is where add was born, and add is still on your computer, and add is probably the most useful and the last text editor you will be able to use on your computer, even if everything breaks. Even if your screen, the half of your keyboard breaks, you still will be able to work with add. Because it's a text editor that works interactively and sequentially, like on a printer. Imagine that I type something and it will be printed on the printer, and then line after line, I will see what happens, how the communication happens. Everything that is with white background, it was me who typed it. The yellow, it is the add editor that answered. So I start add, and then I tell him I want to add a new line, append a new line. So I say A, and then I type my lines, hello world, and everyone at PyParis, with dot, it's end of my entry. Then the next command is 2p. This means print the second line. It prints the second line. Then I say add another line. I add another line with dot, it's end. And then n would print the current line with the number of line before, and % means give me the whole file. And then it prints the whole file. This means if you have the whole source code of Unix, and you do this, you just have quite many meters of paper that comes out with the whole text. So that's why it is useful to have possibility to work with special line numbers or with regions, with regular expressions, for example. So then I replace regular expression. I replace in the line 1 and replace the world but with PyParis, delete the second line, print everything again. Then I write it. It's finished. And for example, if you know the command grep comes from here. Grep is not an English word. Grep is G like global, RE regular expression, P is print. And this is where it comes from. So this is how operating systems were born 50 years ago. And later, 76, I think, came this terminal that was already quite graphical with a new keyboard. And this is where VI was born. This is where Bill Joy, 1976, wrote the text editor VI. And if you know VI and you know how to move around with this AJKL, this is where it comes from. AJKL are the 4 characters that have that are used as arrows as well. This is how the keyboard looks like on that terminal. What you see is escape and control quite near. This is why I try to have them as near as possible. There are no arrows keys. There are no F keys. Here it looks a little bit differently. So now imagine that with this text editor, you have to, with this keyboard, you have to have a text editor like VI that is already quite graphical. The question is, where do these AJKL come from? Those from you who know ASCII table below the code 32, 32 is space, and then you have all the letters that you probably know. There are control characters. These are all the ASCII characters with code 0 to 31. And you can use them actually to instruct your computer to move around or to control the flow of your text. So, for example, if you know that control, like H is in a VI editor, it is an arrow to the left. If I have here H, it is the 8th character, it is backspace. Actually, the control characters, you can get them with the control key. You held control key and then press some other character. It takes the ASCII value of this character, subtracts 64, and returns this. So this is why, for example, Control J, it's line fit, it's like enter. If you open in Unix systems, if you open a MS-DOS file, text file, you will see like *M at the end. *M is the carriage return. This is what is different between the text formatting between Unix and Windows systems. And for example, escape, instead of escape, you can do control and left right it, and there are other characters. So H is backspace left, J line fit down, and then K and L were just next to it. Control L is interesting. Control L works in your text terminal, works like clear. In Control L, in classical Unix, it was form fit. Actually, it moved the sheet of paper out of the printer. So it's the same like cleaning your terminal. And with this, you can control your terminal, communicate with the printer behind it, or communicate with the computer, and you don't need a mouse. Because when editing text, using mouse is just like pointing and grunting to get your point across. And with VI, you can just speak in full sentences. Speaking in full sentences means that your keyboard has all the commands that you need. So combining them gives you everything that you need when working with VI. AJKL are the arrows. You may think that it's too complicated not to use my normal arrow keys, but to use AJKL. But AJKL is just the most simple art of movement in VI. If you learn and get used to all these other movements, you will move around your text very quickly. VI is not the only software that uses this sort of movement, this sort of logic. There is quite a lot of Vim-like software. Vim-like, it means that the movement, searching, regular expressions, modes work similar to VI. So there is a bash this shell. You can use VI commands directly in your command line. i3 is a tiling window manager. I have an asterisk here because if you install i3, the first thing that you have to change is the logic of AJKL. They moved AJKL one step to the right. So imagine that next to L on your keyboard there is M, on other keyboards there is semicolon. It is better to remap it to the natural AJKL. Tmux is a screen and in terminal, textual window manager. Some web browsers that allow you to move in your text like in VI. Mat is great for emails, Newsboiter for RSS. There are some text file and PDF viewers. Image viewer and VI Paint is even an image editor with which you can even edit images like in VI. Never tried that. And there are even more of them. And there are plenty of text editors and IDEs that have VI mode. The problem with this VI mode is that it works up to 98%, 99 sometimes. 99% means that every 5 minutes you do something that the editor doesn't support. And then you have like a surprise that why it works differently than what I expected from VI. So I try to avoid VI mode in text editors. All of these are not text editors. They are just other programs that don't work with text, but that work with other objects like images and files and so on, and that are similar to VI, but not a text editor that is 99% similar to VI. Is it worth the time learning VI? Just go to XKCD. Imagine how often you do the task of editing a text. It's more than 50 times a day. And if you are fast in editing your text, you save quite a lot of time each time. So it's really worth investing a longer time of your life in mastering your text editor, because text editor is your fundamental tool, just like a keyboard. It is something that you will use your whole career. If you want to compare it with some other activity where you invested quite a lot of time and money, it is like driving a car. You think, okay, I have my driving license, now I can sit in any car and then it will behave the same way. Not if you are switching cars that have many things that are a little bit different. And this is also mastering text editor, and then you switch to another text editor. There are many things that will be different, and your muscle memory will just not be able to switch so quickly. How to learn master text editor? Of course, if you have any problem, you can just go to Stack Overflow. The most popular question for VI is, I think, how to quit it. Yeah, it's not funny anymore if you see it too often. Actually, my idea is, if you use a software tool for more than 1 hour a day, read a book about it. Because reading a book, the author of the book will show you their idea of how the text editor works. And it is not like I'm trying something and maybe I will find it the right way, but using a reading a book, this will bring you a lot. It is not only for text editors, actually, it is for most tools that you are using. Just read a book about them. If you want to hear some, or if I can recommend you some book on Vim, this is the author Drew Neal. He wrote 2 books, Practical Vim and Modern Vim. Practical Vim is like 6-7 years old. The book is evergreen. You can read it 20 years ago, you can read it in 20 years. This book based itself really on how Vim works without any extensions. So it is really the VI or Vim that you will encounter on any server. You just log in on some server, open Vim, and this book will help you to master it with the base, with the standard default configuration. Modern Vim is more new book from last year, or this year. This year is more concentrated. It focuses itself on how to build a good IDE out of your Vim. I'm one of the technical editors of Modern Vim, and I can really recommend it. If you want to see something more interactive, more online, there are vimcast.org from Junail, and these are short videos showing how to accomplish some tasks in VI or Vim. I was speaking about Vim. Sometimes I mentioned NeoVim. So NeoVim is a community-driven version that forked out of 7.4 of Vim 4 years ago. Before Vim 8 came, because Vim 8 was already independent from NeoVim, it supported already asynchronous communication with processes. So you could have some more expensive operations like linting, testing, that before would block your work with the editor. Now it runs in the background, and as soon as the information is available, it will just show up and you can go on with the text editing. It has a built-in terminal, so you can communicate with other processes directly in Vim. It has some modern defaults and runs on modern systems. So NeoVim removed the support of some obscure older operating systems. The directories, the configuration directories are on the standard place now. And the most important is the communication with other processes and the possibility of using Python or some other programming language to write your own plugins. Vim 8 later accomplished some updates, so it has also a terminal and asynchronous. But I think now I don't use Vim 8, I use NeoVim the whole time. But the both text editors just go on and add new features. There is one feature that is in Vim 8 and not in NeoVim. It's :smile, to just show a big smile. I think NeoVim developers, they refused to take it into Vim. If you want to Vim your Python or any other text, you have everything you need. You have syntax highlighting, indenting, autocompletion, asynchronous linting. It works great with Git. You can search in your files. There are snippets, folding, interaction with terminal, spell checking. And it's a Unix program. It means that it works with other processes, so you can just build in the other code processing tools and use them for your projects. If you want to work in the other way, as I mentioned, with NeoVim, you can use quite a lot of programming languages to write your own plugins. This is a great advantage. Vimscript is powerful, but Vimscript is just for VI. And if you have to, if you want to have to use the power of Python in this case, in Python you are great at Python, all of you. It means that you can write the program using the libraries you need. You can communicate something with the database. You can communicate with internet. You can regular expressions, pandas. I don't know. You can write a plugin in Python and communicate directly with the content of your of the text you are working on, and not only Python code. You can work with any other text that you are editing. If you want to Python your NeoVim, you just install Python NeoVim, or from your package manager or from Conda, there is NeoVim package. And then in Python, you can just from NeoVim import attach. Two possibilities. You can attach child, start a new NeoVim process, or you can attach through a socket to a NeoVim instance that already runs listening on a socket. And then in your Python, you have the possibility like nvim current buffer 0. It is the first line of the text. So nvim current buffer is just a list of lines of your current file. So you can do anything you wish. Or you can start some VI comments, vsplit or anything else. As an example, I wrote short plugin for Mat. I'm using Mat to write emails. And what it does is when I create a new email, it just checks who I'm writing it to, and I'm using it at work, so it looks if it is all the email addresses are from the company, it just says hello and the list of the names, of the first names. If it is someone out of the company, it says like sehr geehrte in German, like dear Mr., and at the end it attaches the signature. So you have all the possibilities you want, because with such Python code, you can really write whatever you need. So if you have NeoVim on your computer and you write such plugins, it's great. Your NeoVim on your computer will do anything you want. But it's still a good idea to learn or to master Vim without customization. Because any computer you log on, you will find add on it, of course, but you will also very probably find some sort of VI or Vim that you cannot configure. So it's very practical to master it with without any customization, so all the standard commands. If you want to customize your own Vim, at the beginning it's a good idea to deactivate arrow keys and to get used to HJKL, or even to more keys that allow you to move around your text much faster. You can also remap some keys, but remapping keys means that someone who comes to your computer will have problems to find the right command. And of course, you can change everything with appearance, behavior, and add plugins. So your vimrc, or the init file of your Vim, can just grow. But remember, never put any lines into your configuration file that you don't understand. And this is valid for any program you are using. Just don't go blindly to online and take some vimrc from someone else and use it as yours. Just check it line after line, try to understand what it does. That's also the reason why I'm not going to show you my init file now. because it wouldn't bring you anything. You have to go line after line, and then you have a lot of time to build your vMRC, your whole career. Because every time there is some new plugin, I try it, I edit, I see, okay, how it works. And if you break it, if you do like, if you put something in your vMRC that breaks your Vim, you still have add that you can use to fix your vMRC. If not, then I will show you how not to break your vMRC or how to get back even to a standard working version. Because vMRC, as well as other configuration files on your system, are your technical CV. This is what you have your whole time, which you can take with you no matter how often you change your computers, how many computers you have, no matter how often you change your companies. You just take your dot files always with you. With you, it means that you have them somewhere online, on some Git repository, private GitHub or GitLab or some other online source where you have your repository and where you can clone it and update it from your different computers so that every computer you are using privately or professionally behaves in the same way. Putting all these dot files in your home directory into a dot files subdirectory and then linking them, it works, but it's not the nicest solution. What I found out is in Git to define a command config that is an alias to Git where my Git directory is not in home.git but in home.dot files, and the work tree is my home. This means that everything that I want to add to my config repository is somewhere in home, and the Git repository itself is in dot files. This has advantage comparing to .git, that if you are in your home directory and you do something with Git, or not in Git, but if you have your in terminal your prompt set to show you, to compare always some differences or evaluate what changed in your Git repository, it usually looks into the .git directory. But you don't want to check it every time. So with this directory, you just hide this Git repository from home.git. You hide it into some other directory, and only using the config alias, you are working with this Git repository. Then you initialize your Git repository in home.files, and then very important, you say your config your config repository that it shouldn't show untracked files. Without this, if I'm in my home directory and say config status, it will just look on the 10,000 files in my home directory and say all of them are untracked. With this, it will just check the files that you have added. So you do config add the files that you need, your vMRC, Z shell, or other files, and with config you can then work on your files. So with config add, I add the file, and then I can commit, branch, and I have to add a remote remote repository just to have a place where I want to update my files. And with this way, I have all my config files where they belong in the system, and only those files that I want to track and have my Git, only those will come into my Git repository. So, is it possible to have one brain, one pair of hands, one physical keyboard, one logical keyboard, and one text editor for all your text editing work? Yes, because you can use our muscle memory. You should use one keyboard layout. Keep your AZERTY until you switch it for QWERTY with Compose key. Use one text editor. I don't say it should be Vim. If it is Emacs, it's okay. Use your programming language of choice to improve or to be even able to hack even more, even better the texts with your text editor. So Python in your case, which is really great for text editing tasks. Take your dot files with you. Don't put any lines into your config files that you don't understand. And just don't avoid any information about how it worked in the past, because everything you are using on your computer, it is based somehow on the systems from the 60s, 70s, or even before. Enjoy your tools. Thank you very much.